downstairs. Downstairs is more cosy. I wanted to ask you about a wide range of issues.
Sure, of course.
First of all, we at MyLondon cover a lot of crime. We cover it as it happens every day, week in, week out, and we sense like an innumerable amount of stabbings, and we've noticed shootings have gone up recently as well. You've talked about the tackling complex causes of crime. To me, it happens, but some Londoners would say they're not feeling it on the streets. They're not noticing any difference. Some areas may have gone up, may have got worse. What do you say to those Londoners that are not noticing any difference at all?
Well, I was with the Commissioner yesterday, and we both made the point to each other. The impacts of crime are felt, incredibly harshly by the victims. One victim of crime is one victim of crime too many. So what I've sought to do over the last 8 years is to try and fill the massive black hole left by government cuts. So to give your readers an idea of the challenges we've had since 2010 up until 2024, the Met Police Service in London has seen a cut from the money they get from central government by a third. That's more than £1 billion less money we're receiving from the government. In the 8 years before I became mayor, the previous mayor also had a cut on the policing budget from 2008 to 2016. That was a cash terms cut, but also real term cuts of 28%. So what Londoners are feeling is consequences of a third cut from central government, 28% cut from the previous mayor. Although I've managed to fill most of it, I've increased funding in the police by more than £1.148 billion. That's how much they receive now. It's an increase of more than a double. So more than double money from us, still not enough. The good news is in the last 8 years, there has been a reduction in gun crime. There's been a reduction in homicides, by both knife and guns. Fewer young people injured with a knife, fewer burglaries, but it's still too high. And that's why we're lobbying the government for more resources for our police. The Met Police Service themselves have worked out we receive £240 million less than we should do as an international city, and that's felt by your readers. The other thing we've sought to do from City Hall is to say, look, can we stop young people getting involved in criminal gangs? Can we stop young people picking up knives? Can we stop young people getting involved in mischief and social behaviour? The answer is yes, by investing in youth clubs, in youth workers. It's what we call a public health approach, dealing with violent crime like you would an infection. Stop the infection occurring in the first place, deal with the infection, stop the infection spreading. So from City Hall, we're providing constructive things for 300,000 young people to do, giving 100,000 young Londoners a mentor, and that's one of the reasons we're seeing reduction in these areas of crime. We need to see more progress, which is why I'm looking forward to a general election, so I can have a Labour mayor invested in the police, but a Labour government invested in the police and preventative causes as well.
Money is obviously important, but people would say that you're the police and crime commissioner for London. It's your responsibility on crime. Susan Hall's been very critical, for example, of your record on crime. And I think the stabbings and homicides have been down, but only from a certain age group. Is that right?
So those injured with a knife below 25 has gone down hugely since we set up the Violence Reduction Unit in 2019. You mentioned the Conservative opponent. Your readers need to understand what the record of the Conservatives is. Conservative mayor cuts the policing budget by 28%. Conservative government cuts the policing budget by a third, 32%. Why should this Conservative you're talking about be any different?
She says she's going to put £200 million into the Met. Do you think that's possible?
How can any reader possibly believe a Conservative candidate who chaired Liz Truss's kamikaze budget, who chaired the previous mayor's cuts of 28% in the Met Police's budget, and who chaired this government cutting the Met Police budget by 32%? Her figures and numbers don't add up. The only way you can invest the sort of monies that the Conservative is talking about in the Met Police Service is if there's a referendum held to massively increase council tax. And I'm not sure if Londoners want to be filling the massive hole left by the government that way.
What do you say to those Londoners, crime-wise, who experience crime perhaps on a day-to-day basis, experience incidents on a day-to-day basis? You're saying your plan is working, but it's not from their point of view. What do you say to them?
Listen, one of the reasons why we need a general election. We need a general election because we need a new government working with the Mayor of London, not a central government, Conservative government working against the police, working against London. It's simply not possible to fill the massive hole left by central government cuts. I'll give you an example. So when I first became mayor, City Hall would contribute, roughly speaking, 18% of the complete Met Police budget, just 18%, because the rest came from central government. Because of the massive cuts from central government, I now contribute 27% of the Met Police's budget. So I understand the concerns your readers have in relation to crime. I share them, but the answer isn't to duplicate conservative cuts from central government by a conservative mayor. The answer is for a Labour mayor working with a Labour government. That's why there are two big elections taking place this year, the mayoral election, but also the general election. That's why it's really important not to reward cuts by voting for a Tory mayor in London.
Reports recently have emphasised how much you are guarded during your day-to-day life. Being the leader of a massive city like London obviously warrants that guarding. But are there some things that you miss doing from civilian life that you can't do nowadays because of the security threats to you?
Oh, listen, when we run out of milk, having to be able to run to the local shop and buy a pint of skim milk is a hassle now, because I've got to make sure, obviously, that police officers know I'm about to go to the local shop. Just deciding to pick up my coat and take Luna for a walk is a hassle, because I've got to make sure there are police officers following Luna and I as we go for a walk. There are lots of things that I'd like to do that I can't do. And more important, I know the anxiety and stress it causes my wife, my daughters, my mum, my siblings, my staff, people who love and care about me. The fact that I'm required to have close police protection because of the threats made to my life. I don't think anybody should go to work and risk their personal safety. I know police officers do on a daily basis, firefighters do on a daily basis, and many others do on the front line on a daily basis. I was friends with Joe Cox, who tragically was murdered in 2016. I knew David Amos, who was tragically murdered a couple of years ago. I know very well Stephen Timms, who was stabbed. Thankfully, he's still alive a few years ago as well. It can't be part and parcel of the life of a British politician to require close police protection. And I'm hoping things improve going forward, because I want your readers who are younger thinking about a career in politics, particularly women, and those who are Black, Asian, minority, ethnic. I want everybody to feel confident about wanting to put the head above the parapet. And I do worry about some of the messages received by people because of what we've seen in relation to threats to politicians and what's well rehearsed about what I need.
Do you fear that what happened to Stephen Timms, David Amos, will happen to you?
Well, look. I mean, I think everybody, and I've spoken to lots of MPs from all political parties over the last few months, particularly post October the 7th. I think a lot of politicians are worried about their personal safety. I'm not somebody who's fatalistic in relation to me, but I know my wife worries about me, my daughters worry about me, my mum worries about me, my brothers and sisters worry about me, my nephews and nieces worry about me, and so I'm not going to be blasé and say, listen, I'm not worried at all, because that's a disrespect to those people who care about me and stuff. But I think it's wrong, the fact that more and more people, in our city, in our country, who are politicians, are requiring some form of police protection.
Do you feel cut off, out of touch because of your lifestyle? How you can't do something?
No, I'm quite. I mean, I'm a pain in the backside for my close protection team, but I use the tube, I use the buses, I go walking, I go for a run. I still do the things I did before I became mayor. It's a challenge for them because nobody else has got protection, does what I do. But it's important. That's who I am. Right? I'm not going to stop doing what I do by virtue of the job. I'm not going to be coward because of what people are seeking to do. You must never allow bullies to win. And if I change the way I lead my life, it's allowing the bullies to win.
Has any of this had thoughts in the recent past of not running for a third term because of the stress it's putting on you and your family?
Listen, I think being the mayor of London is a huge privilege. I get to action what I call the London Promise. What the London Promise to me is the idea that you work hard, you get a helping hand, and you can achieve anything. I benefited, as in my family, from that helping hand. Being the mayor allows me to give more Londoners that helping hand. It's the privilege of my lifetime to be the mayor of this city. When I became the mayor, I thought I'd won the golden ticket. I'm the mayor of the city that I love. But what really excites me is the possibility of me working with a Labour government. In the 24 years of the mayoralty, 24 years, there's only been one 4-year period where there was a Labour mayor and a Labour Prime Minister. During that 1 4-year period, we won the Olympics, we secured funding for Crossrail. In 1 year alone, I built 8,000 council homes. So what excites me is the idea of being the mayor with a Labour Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, working closely with me